What if the moment that changed your entire life happened under a tiny, hanging plant at an office Christmas party? What if you walked into that party just planning to survive the awkward conversations, fake smile through the secret Santa gifts, sip your eggnog quietly, and leave early? But then something happened that rewrote every plan you ever made for your future? What if the person you had been professionally admiring, carefully avoiding, secretly dreaming about for months, suddenly stopped, looked directly into your eyes, and said 3 words that shook your entire soul? What if love didn't arrive in a romantic restaurant, on a beautiful beach, or in a fairy tale moment? But instead, it arrived under fluorescent office lights, surrounded by tinsel and bad holiday music, with your colleagues watching? What if the rules of Christmas tradition turned out to be the most honest thing anyone ever said to you? Stay with me, because this story is about to prove that love doesn't wait for the perfect moment. Love creates the perfect moment. And it happened at an office Christmas party, under a mistletoe, with a boss who simply said, "You know the rules," and everything changed. Forever. What if the greatest love story of your life began not in Paris, not on a rooftop at sunset, not with roses and candlelight, but in a conference room decorated with dollar store tinsel, where someone stopped beneath a mistletoe and said 4 words that split your world completely in half? What if I told you that love, real, breathtaking, soul-shaking love, doesn't announce itself with a grand entrance? What if love arrives quietly, professionally dressed, holding a glass of sparkling cider, standing beneath a little green plant hung from the ceiling with a staple gun and holiday hope? Let me talk about love. And I mean the kind that sneaks up on you so slowly, so silently, that you don't even realize it's already taken permanent residence in your chest until the exact moment when it decides to reveal itself completely. Love, in this context, is not a soft, gentle breeze. It is a lightning bolt wrapped in a business suit. It is the electricity that builds for months in email threads, in morning meetings, in brief hallway conversations that lasted 3 seconds longer than they professionally should have. It is every good morning that carried 10,000 unsaid words beneath it. It is the kind of love that disguises itself as professionalism, as respect, as admiration. Until one December evening, surrounded by Christmas lights and colleagues awkwardly dancing to Mariah Carey, it refuses to hide anymore. Because love, true love, cannot stay professional forever. What if every single day you walked into that office, you carried something you weren't allowed to name? What if you sat in those meetings, took those notes, answered those emails, and somewhere underneath all of that productivity, underneath all of that responsibility and routine, something was growing that had absolutely nothing to do with quarterly reports and everything to do with the way one particular person looked at you when they thought you weren't watching? That is love in disguise. That is love being patient. That is love respecting boundaries while quietly, consistently building a case for itself. Day after day, month after month, until it finds its moment. And its moment? It chose a Christmas party. Now let me explain something shocking to you. Something that most people never understand about love until it's already happened to them. Love is the most brilliant strategist in the entire universe. It studies you. It watches your patterns. It identifies exactly which moment you are the most off guard, the most human, the most real. And then, in that precise, vulnerable moment, it strikes. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't schedule a meeting. It doesn't send a calendar invite. It simply appears, and it says, through the voice of someone standing beneath a mistletoe, "You know the rules." What if those 4 words, "You know the rules," were the most romantic, the most courageous, the most honest 4 words anyone had ever spoken to you in your entire life? Because here is what's shocking about love. The thing that makes audiences lean forward, that makes hearts stop for exactly 1 second before beating twice as fast. Love uses ordinary moments to deliver extraordinary revelations. It used a Christmas tradition, a piece of hanging greenery, a party that you almost didn't attend, a boss you had been professionally respecting for months, and it turned all of it into the opening chapter of something neither of you had planned but both of you had been secretly hoping for. Love. And I need you to really feel this. Love is brave before it is beautiful. It is terrifying before it is tender. In that moment, standing under that mistletoe, with eyes that had learned your face across months of professional distance, the courage it took to say those 4 words, "You know the rules," was not a small thing. That was love deciding that it was done waiting. That was love choosing honesty over comfort, vulnerability over safety, truth over the performance of professionalism. And what makes this story so powerful, so deeply, bone-shakingly relevant to every single person listening right now, is that this is not just one story. This is the story of every person who has ever loved someone they were not supposed to love in the time and place they found themselves. This is the story of every heart that has carried something beautiful and complicated and completely inconvenient and survived the weight of carrying it in silence. What if the rule that your boss referenced, that ancient, cheerful, absurd little mistletoe tradition, was actually love giving both of you permission? What if the universe, with its extraordinary sense of humor and its perfect sense of timing, decided that Christmas was the right season, an office party was the right setting, and a centuries-old tradition was the right excuse? To finally let 2 people stop pretending that they felt nothing? Because love. And this is the part that should shock you the most. Love doesn't need grand gestures. It doesn't need grand settings. It needs one honest moment, one brave sentence, one person willing to stop, look at another person, and say, without apology, without strategy, without professional caution, "You know the rules," meaning, "I see you. I've always seen you. And right now, in this moment, I am choosing you." That is love at its most raw, most real, most revolutionary form. What if, at this very moment, there is someone in your life, someone you see regularly, someone you admire quietly, someone you professionally greet every morning, who is standing in the metaphorical hallway of your heart, waiting for a mistletoe moment? What if love is already present in your life, dressed in everyday clothes, showing up in ordinary settings, and it is simply waiting for you to be brave enough to acknowledge it? Love doesn't always arrive with music. Sometimes it arrives with mistletoe. Sometimes it arrives with 4 words. Sometimes it arrives at an office Christmas party, in a conference room that smells like pine air freshener and holiday cookies, spoken by someone who decided, in that one crystalline, irreversible moment, that the rules of their heart mattered more than the rules of the workplace. And what happened after those 4 words? What happened when the rules were honored and the moment was real and love finally got its way? That is the story worth telling. That is the chapter worth writing. That is the life worth living. Because love, in every form, in every setting, in every unexpected, unprofessional, perfectly imperfect moment, is always worth it. So what have we learned from a mistletoe, a Christmas party, and 4 unforgettable words? We have learned that love is not confined to romance novels or movie screens. It lives in real offices, under fluorescent lights, between real people who are just brave enough, for one extraordinary moment, to stop pretending. It lives in the courage to honor a tradition when honoring it means revealing everything. It lives in the space between professional and personal, between safe and brave, between quiet and honest. Remember this: your greatest love story will not arrive on schedule. It will not send advance notice. It will not wait until the timing is convenient or the setting is perfect or the fear is completely gone. It will arrive at a Christmas party when you least expect it, wrapped in tinsel and tradition, spoken in 4 simple words, and it will change everything. Let it, honor it, choose it, because love chose you first.